Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Oversharon Show.
On the interwebs,
On the
everyone.
interwebs. We are your hosts. I am Brandon Bonanza. This is the lovely Sharon. How are you today, Sharon?
I'm great. Thank you.
Awesome. I was doing a wedding meeting a couple weeks ago, and I forgot that my Zoom said Brandon Bonanza. So
Oh, that's so funny.
they're like, oh, wait, your last name's not Bonanza? And I'm like, well, you know. And also today's the 21st of September. So it's Earth, Wind, and
Do
Fire
you
Day.
remember?
You guys
That's
remember
so
today?
that's so funny because a friend in a group chat this morning sent that song. And I was just like, oh, it's September. That's why he's sending it. I didn't even realize it was the 20th.
It's the 21st, which
It's
is
not the 21st night yet for us.
yeah,
Maybe in Europe. Maybe in Europe, but not yet for us.
we still got a few hours.
Oh, Gordy's in.
Oh, what's up, Gordy? Yeah, I have a few gigs this weekend, so I'll play
On
this.
spoons.
I'm like, do you remember the 21st of September? It was just yesterday. It feels like it was yesterday, and that's because it was. All right. Enough of these.
You have a wedding tomorrow? Do you have a wedding tomorrow?
No, I have a wedding Saturday and Sunday. Tomorrow I have a
Okay.
gig at like my brother's stepkids school. It's like grammar school. I think they're doing some
Okay.
kind of outside thing. I'm just DJing for like 2 hours or whatever, but yeah,
Sweet.
it's always interesting to get money from a school. All right, here's our quote today. Our quote today is by good old Charlie Manson. If you look down at me, you will see huh?
This is so funny, but go ahead.
I know it is pretty funny. If you look down at me, you will see a fool. If you look up at me, you will see a god. If you look straight at me, you will see yourself. Charles Manson. And we talk about a lot of crazy things here in the Oversharon Show, and this just kind of goes to show, because we looked up the quote, allegedly he really did say it. So it just goes to show that no matter who the person is, they could speak truth. So doesn't mean that, again, you don't idolize this person, right? We're just pointing it out that somebody as notorious, if you will, as Charles Manson can make some pretty good points, because I think that's kind of what happened, right? All the people who demonized him saw him as a fool, and then all his followers saw him as a god. And if you look right at him, you'll see yourself, which is...
Could it be?
You can interpret, yeah, we can interpret that for yourself, everybody. But
He's a mirror.
Yeah.
Remember the 7 Essene mirrors? He's a mirror of what you judge.
Yeah.
Right? If you judge, oh, he's a XYZ so-and-so sinner, then that's a mirror back at you.
Yeah. And could it be that he was put there on purpose? Shout out to Michelle's Home Healing, who's done an amazing job. She was a guest on our show, but her and Mario have done an amazing job talking about the 60s and the summer of love over on her
that's
channel.
right.
So
yeah, Spoons was saying that.
She's talked about Charles Manson and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's possible all that was even a psyop anyway, but there's definitely some truth in this quote.
Yeah.
And like we said about the mirrors, that is so true. How's my sound, everybody, by the way? Everybody, do we have it?
Please let us know how our sound is as compared to each other, because
hey, Blue Kachina, I saw your comment yesterday, allegedly or apparently YouTube got rid of it. I don't know what happened, but there was action in the chat yesterday. Maybe they erased it after 24 hours or something.
Yeah, maybe if it's not part of the actual stream, it gets erased somehow.
Yeah, Blue Kachina, what's up? Gordy, what's up? What's up, Zaralath? Cody,
Zaralath.
Spoons. Oh, what's up, Spoons? How are you? All right. Okay.
Gordy says it sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Kachina says it sounds great.
Awesome.
And so does Spoons. Well, with that said, I shall pull one of the Ching cards that I really, really have been enjoying. But I've also been enjoying the Thoth deck a little bit. And I'll just, before I pull that, I'm going to show this book.
How dare you?
Yeah. So I asked Mario Garza, whom we had Symbolic Studies, whom we had on our show, about which tarot book he was talking about when he was telling us on the show that he had studied the symbolism of the Thoth deck through a book. And I asked him on the side what book that was. He went and looked for it and found this. And I had this in my kind of like my wish list. And I just, for whatever reason, the other day, it just popped up. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to look into that book. And I got it. So I just want to say it's been really very, very interesting, because it's kind of like that numerology book that I also told you guys about, where you can, with your birthday, you can look at which card is your, like, your card for the date of your birth. And it's like, I've been reading it. It's like mind boggling how accurate it feels to me. So anyway,
that's awesome. And before I forget, I just wanted to share, I've been experiencing some pretty crazy synchronicities. I've been listening to the Wheel of Time novels still. And there was a part where somebody said something, and I wish I could remember the part in the book. I might have to go back, but they were describing something. They're like, it was as black. They're like, it was black as a moonless sky at midnight. And I've also been watching Twin Peaks, maybe an episode here or there with my woman, and somebody on the show said the same day that I listened earlier to the book, somebody said the same thing on the show. They're like, it's as black as a moonless night at midnight. And I was like, whoa. I mean, that's a pretty amazing city for them to both say the same thing the same time that I watched or listened to it, right? And Twin Peaks, of course, is done by David Lynch, and the actor who plays the FBI agent is the same one who plays Paul Atreides in the '84 Dune movie. So,
oh, that's funny. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I have pulled the card. It is number 28, Excessive Pressure, Lake Above and Wind Below.
Ooh. I like just thinking of that idea of water above, but it's a lake, and then wind below, like the water and then air. And even the lake gives you an idea because it's not an ocean. So it's like a smaller body of water below wind, and then wind shows you what the air is up to. Also, it's another description of that element. So, I mean, there's just so much you could probably glean there just as far as symbolism. And then also your book, when you're done reading that, I want you to show your tarot book really quickly, because, or maybe you can even put it up now, because I noticed something very interesting about the symbols.
Okay, yeah.
You see how the pentacle is on top there, right? And then you have the sword to one side, the wand to the other, and then the cup below it. That kind of reminds me of like the physical realm, right? The pentacle represents the physical, and the other three are kind of like the basis for it. They're the foundation. And it is a square too. I like that. And if you would, the only, it kind of reminds me of the pentagram upside down, but I think this is not symbolizing the same thing. This is just letting you know that the physical is supported by all these other symbols. Maybe if they don't even know, but that's what I see in there.
Yeah. And I guess I didn't say the name of the book, so I will, because for any of our audio listeners, the book is The Tarot Handbook, Practical Applications of Ancient Visual Symbols by Angeles Arien, Angeles Arrien.
Oh, nice.
And I'll put a link in the description later. So, but without further ado, I'm going to read the introduction to this card. And I don't want to forget, I have been reading the endings of the cards, like not the endings, but the lines. And hey, kitty. I want to read them at the end. After we're done with the Tao, I kind of want to read like the ending of the card just to tie it up, So, all right. It's called Excessive Pressure, number 28, Lake Above, Wind Below. Something is about to collapse. A great pressure is causing an imbalance that needs correction. If the dam is about to burst, moving out of the way is your first priority. Likewise, if you are in an old mine shaft and feel the earth begin to tremble, It is time for quick, instinctive action and nimble footwork. Only extraordinary measures can produce a successful outcome. When the roof is collapsing, run first and choose your destination later. Extraordinary times bring out the best and worst in people. When a great weight is upon your world, powerful moments present opportunities to make great gains because everything is in a state of flux. One can either move in the direction of positive change and improvement or toward stagnation. To achieve the former, one must go gently to the heart of the issue, to the cause. Then a smooth transition is assured. This may be the moment you've been waiting for. Although the current challenge may seem to be more than you can handle, remember that a flood usually reaches its high water mark for only a few brief moments before it begins to subside. Action must be taken now to ensure opportunities for success later. You never know the true extent of your abilities until you, at least once in your life, dive into a crisis with complete abandon, dedicating every ounce of your energy and every fiber of your being to the cause at hand. Now is the time. Dare to win. Wow. Excessive pressure.
We will dare to win on the Over Sharon show.
Yeah. And we will dare to read the ending of that at the end.
Yeah. And we dove right in with a Charles Manson quote. Just in case there's anybody that was like on the fence, we wanted to make sure. How dare you? Yeah, I like that. And Blue
Kachina feels the words.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Oh man, I feel those words. Yeah, it's I like how it said when everything's falling, don't be picky, just kind of find a roof to get under, right? And
yeah,
that reminds me of something I heard recently where it's like we might even have said it on the show, kind of when things are going, like in 2020, for example, when everybody's kind of losing their mind. Maybe in the beginning it's worth saying something and trying to sway people's opinions, but once it kind of the wave washes over, you can't really do anything, right? You just kind of hide under a rock and help the people that you can. You don't try to make yourself like stand on a pedestal and just, you're just going to invite all this attacks and craziness because you're the crazy one. And it's funny because oh man, I just lost my train of thought. I guess I could tell this quick story. I went to the vet yesterday with my two little kitties, and allegedly it's like illegal to not put a needle in them for,
that's ridiculous.
That terrible R thing. But the reason we go to this particular veterinarian is because she's like really cool. She just had you sign a waiver. So she just asked me about it because I was the only one there because Elizabeth had brought her cats, but she had to bring them later because she was working.
Did you tell her that you have a website called morelawsmoreproblems.com?
No, I didn't. But I did tell her, I was like, it's probably not exactly a law. I'm like, ordinances and all these things, statutes. I'm like, that's different.
Mandates.
But yeah, but I did explain to her about a little bit about the medical industry and just kind of how, I'm like, this was like laughed at like 100+ years ago. And then all this money got put into it. And she gets it. I don't think she was involved in all that stuff, but it's funny because I've said this before too. I think with the experimental medical serum that's going on, I think people look at you like you're crazier if you tell them that you decline any shot for your pets than you do for yourself. That's when they're really like, because that's where it's like really strong. And when I got home or when we were home later, I was thinking to myself, like, man, I wish I asked her if she'd ever saw a case of rabies in her whole career. And Elizabeth was like, I did ask her that. And I was like, you're a genius. And she said she had seen one that involved a bat and a dog and all this stuff, a bat got in the house. And I was just, I'm like, I have more questions though. Like, did they actually send that dog out to get tested? Because you're allegedly after they die, you gotta like chop their head off. And it's the only way to figure out if they really had rabies. Like,
that's gross.
I had a tumble with this is the thing. Like, I always been this way because I think when I was like 13 or 14, I had this little dog, kind of looked like Benji. Great dog, would follow me everywhere. Really cool dog. And one day he got in a scuffle with a raccoon, but it wasn't like they were just kind of barking at each other and, like some snarling. So they called animal control in the neighborhood. Animal control came. And did I ever tell you this story?
Mm-mm.
So the animal control guy, we're all standing around in my kitchen, and there was some neighbors there across the street. One of the guys was in the National Guard, and he had a son around my age, really good dude. And the animal control guy's like, all right, well, we're gonna have to take the dog. We're gonna have to put it down. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, because we don't know if it has rabies unless this or that. But there was no gashes or anything. And so I started to like freak out, and I was just like, there's no way you're going to take my dog. And I think the neighbor realized what was going on, and he stepped in and was like, listen, is there any other way? And the animal control guy said, well, if you keep it under strict quarantine for 2 weeks, away from other animals, and you could see if it exhibits signs. And my neighbor was like, all right, we'll do that. And I think it only lasted like a day or two, but I think he realized that I was, even at 14, I was about to like throw this guy in the backyard. You know what I mean? Like, are you serious? You're gonna kill? Yeah, it's crazy. And just imagine most people who go along with that, they probably have their dogs taken away from them or whatever because they're afraid to stand up. And I was like, one day I'll have a website called More Laws, More Problems. But yeah, it's part of my growing up seeing the unfairness in the quote unquote law, or just law enforcement, or just the government itself. But I think that was one of the bricks in the wall for me. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of what the card kind of was talking about, like something is about to happen or something like that. That's kind of interesting. The card came up, because I don't know if other people have been hearing, but I never say the words that people are saying, right? I use, other words to get my point across. But there have been some things coming out that say that in a couple of days, and also in like several days, maybe a week and a half or so, that something is going to happen, right? And so people that are in this community of like, kind of like looking into, what could possibly happen next type of thing, are getting kind of prepped, and things like that. And nothing wrong with prepping. It's, fine and great. But to me, it's just interesting this card came up right around this time. So.
Yeah, I wonder, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Have you heard anything? Or have you just been out of the complete loop?
I've been totally out of the loop, but I remember from several months ago, a few people were talking about the internet and the instability, and something might happen with that. I think it was supposed to be like September 23rd, like allegedly it was in a bunch of movies and all this stuff. And the crazy thing though is September 23rd is 22 days after, the 11th day in the 9th month, which this year.
Wait, how many days? Wait.
22 and 11. Oh no, that's 30. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's
11.
It's 12
12?
days. Yeah,
Yeah.
12 days. All right, never mind. I thought it was.
But
Yeah,
hey, it's close.
I'm really good with math usually. I don't know what happened. I got the 2 right. It was the other 2 I didn't get. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's
You saw 20222 earlier.
Yeah, we did. I mean, if something were to happen to the internet, maybe I'm just getting ready by ignoring it recently. I don't know, but we'll be doing the Oversharing show on the phone, and we'll just like call people and do 3-ways. Remember the 3-way like total phone we used to call it?
That's how it started.
Yeah,
that's how we started Oversharing.
Exactly. We'll just
on the phone.
We'll call other people. We'll just have them text their phone numbers to us, and yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll figure something out, but I'm not too worried about it. I kind of just, my thing is I'm just going to take things as they happen, because so many people
one day at a time,
right? Well, so many people watch movies, read books like Lord of the Rings and all this stuff, and in those movies and in those books, the hero or the heroes go through some crazy challenges. Some of them even die, and the world gets turned upside down, and that's everybody's favorite entertainment. They like to identify with the hero or whatever, the heroes of the story. Sorry, it's about to be 2:22 and 22 seconds. Boom. All right. So what I'm saying must be applicable. Pay attention. So anyway, people idolize these people, right? But if it was to happen, like if, I don't know, the internet had an issue or whatever happened, like if fucking something crashed or blew up or things changed, that's the time now you become the hero of your own story. I mean, you probably should be the hero of your own story anyway, but it gives us an opportunity to overcome something insane, because most people are going to be driven by fear. They're going to freak out and they're going to lose their mind. But if you could be somebody, whoever's listening to this, if you could be, like a beacon of light, or just have no fear, you can actually look at it as an adventure, you know. That's kind of how I'm going to look at it. Like you said, we were saying, one day at a time, take things as they happen. So if these things happen,
Yeah.
we're just going to get through it. And,
Yeah, because you don't know if it will happen. Like, why worry about something that hasn't happened yet?
100%. And I do feel the way this realm works, shifts do happen. And I feel like we have been getting some foreshadowing of things happening. So I'm sure things will happen, maybe soon, maybe years from now, who knows, but it's all part of letting go and attachment. Because, and again, these aren't judgments. Most of us are attached to the way things are. I mean, I'm attached to the fact that I could just set up a Zoom link and tell Sharon and we're here and we could talk to, tens of people. But if that were to all go away, I lived in the 80s, man. I remember when you just had one phone in your house and you had to deal with it. So I think that I'll be okay. I'm pretty sure no matter what, I'm just going to try to face it with no fear. So I would admonish people to have that same feeling, because you die 1,000 unreal deaths if you just keep fearing what's going to happen, every time it happens. And then when it doesn't happen, it's like a cycle. You probably feel silly because you told everybody something was going to happen. And then it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. After a while, no one's going to, believe you or whatever. But again, like I said, I do think things are on the horizon. This realm probably will change. There are going to be changes. That's just the way it is. Nothing is permanent. And the way that I have been able to reassure myself and just live a lot more of a comfortable life is to not fear it. I know we talk about this all the time, but I think it is super important. And again, we're not telling you how to live. We're just telling you how you might be able to live a little more comfortably. That's all.
More easily.
A little more, So.
Ah.
That would be crazy though, right? If the internet went down. I mean, it might be a good thing if it went down for a little while, but again, I don't try to play into the fear, because even saying it, I think like it makes it more possible to happen. Like, I don't like to speak things into existence, but I do want to acknowledge that things do happen, things do change, and major events, and I think we'll be just fine though.
Thing is, we don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
And it's like you were saying, like the whole repetition of stuff, or like when people predict a date and then doesn't happen. And that, it reminds me of those, pastors or whatever, who would like be like, oh, the rapture is going to happen on XYZ date. And then everybody gets all ready and then it doesn't happen. And then they're like, oh, well, that's because XYZ. So, but it's really, really going to happen on this day. And then that day passes and nothing. It's like, you never know. You just don't speak what you don't know.
Yeah, MS nailed it in the chat. They said Y2K. They're just like Y2K. It's the same. And even before that, I remember when I was really young, I think it might have been the 80s. Everyone was like, oh, the world's supposed to end on this day. It was like some day in the late 80s. Like it was like a Wednesday or some shit. I don't know. But and then it came and went, and we're still here.
2012 came and went.
Yeah, 2012
the Mayan prophecies and Mayan calendars and
yep.
So,
and I think it's more of like a foreshadowing. Things probably will happen in the future, but again, what are you going to do? You can't just remain in fear and get in the fear cycle, because then you're taking away from the present moment. You're not enjoying your time of it being the way that you prefer it. If you do prefer it this way, in this crazy electronic information age that we have, or whatever you call it, we should call it the age of bad information. But yeah, just enjoy your time now, and then take things as they come. It's the simple pleasures, and again, I'm talking myself too, everybody. It's not like I have this all mastered. I'm just reminding myself. That's kind of why I try to live simply right now, but if the flow of coffee beans got cut off though, I might be in trouble.
I mean, I do like them. I was thinking about that yesterday too. I was like, I mean, I could live without them, but like, why? Because I like the taste, you know? I've grown accustomed to just having it every morning, and I like the. But what's funny is this morning, I feel like I served myself a little too much, and I don't usually do that. But I kind of just was like, oh, I want a little more cream today. So I served myself a little bit more coffee. And then like I was already feeling a little bit like anxious. I'm like, I don't really need that. Like I can pull back. Like I can just have like 2 or 3 ounces. Honestly, that's all I need to just the flavor. That's all. I
Yeah.
don't need to get jittery or anything like that.
Well, you have an excuse because you're half Colombian anyway, so it's in your veins.
It's in my veins, even though I didn't happen until maybe, I don't know, less than 10 years ago.
Yeah, same with me. I never really drank coffee until later in my life. But yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, what are we here to talk about today, Sharon?
Well, we are going to look into the Tao again versus what do we have today?
11 and 12.
11 and 12. 11. 11.
11. We just did 9 last week, and this week
1,
we're
2,
doing
3,
11.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I can't do that low.
It must be a conspiracy because we did 9 last week. 11, 12. 11.
Yeah, there you go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. There you go, everybody. That's your entertainment for the day. Yeah, so we're talking about the Tao again, as we have been ongoing in the past few months or so, on and off. So we're really excited about that. Neither of us have really done any prep as far as reading these, which I think is pretty cool because we kind of get a fresh set of eyes, and we're going to relate it to what we've been looking into lately. And that's what I like about the Tao, because as I said before, it's just like the Bhagavad Gita or the Bible or any of these religious texts. You can read them when you're a kid, you can read them when you're older. And as you learn more stuff, if you keep your mind open, especially like symbolism and all this stuff, it's going to mean different things to you different times in your life. And so I have a feeling it'll be probably quite synchronistic to what we've been looking into recently in all our lives. It's just the way these things work. It's like magic. That's why they call it
Absolutely.
magic. All right, I'm gonna pull this up. Verse 11. Look at Sharon's awesome slides that she made. Everybody, shout out to Sharon.
Thank you.
How do we look on the screen, by the way? Let's see. Let's check YouTube. It might take a second to switch over. Hope everybody's doing well in the chat. We have 10 concurrent viewers right now, so we're in double digits, and we have 9
Yay.
likes. All right.
Oh, wow.
Let's get those likes up. Yeah, it's funny because I've noticed in the past couple of weeks, it seems, according to YouTube, our views are going down, but our likes are holding strong or going up. So to me, that's all I really care about, are the people that have actively liked the show, because that means that they're participating and they're into it. So thank you guys. It's so funny though how these numbers, it's like, I know YouTube, I think it's like a game for them. I really do. I don't think it's
What?
as
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the
They got to
number.
be playing with numbers.
Yeah.
But just so you know, I think you're the only one showing, not that it matters, like I don't care, but just so you know, it's not the two of us in the view.
Oh, is it okay?
But
Oh,
it's okay. It's okay if you
yeah.
I don't know what the feature is to fix that or change it or whatever.
Yeah, I changed it in the other. I don't know. Oh well, we'll see what happens. At least they could see more of the screen
More
anyway.
you. I'm just kidding.
They could see more of the words, more of me, at no extra charge. Everybody, look at that. All right, so today's verse 11, and I'm gonna read. We're gonna go through and read each one, taking turns. I'm gonna read the Stephen Mitchell version from 1988 first. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it makes the center hole. But it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Nice. Dwight Goddard, 1919. He entitles this section, The Value of Non-Existence. Although the wheel has 30 spokes, its utility lies in the emptiness of the hub. The jar is made by kneading clay, but its usefulness consists in its capacity. A room is made by cutting out windows and doors through the walls, but the space the walls contain measures the room's value. In the same way, matter is necessary to form, but the value of reality lies in its immateriality. Or thus, a material body is necessary to existence, but the value of a life is measured by its immaterial soul. Next slide.
Next slide, please. Here we go.
This is interesting. It feels like it's kind of short, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Stan was like, listen, this one is easy. We'll just give it to you real quick, the down and dirty. Stan Rosenthal from 1984, The Utility of Non-Existence. Though 30 spokes may form the wheel, it is the hole within the hub which gives the wheel utility. It is not the clay the potter throws which gives the pot its usefulness, but the space within the shape from which the pot is made. Without a door, the room cannot be entered, and without windows, it is dark. Such is the utility of non-existence.
Wow.
Mm.
And his actually, I really like so far.
Yeah.
All right. Aleister Crowley from the 1920s, posthumously published in the 1970s. He entitles this The Value of the Unexpressed. The 30 spokes join in their nave, that is one. Yet the wheel dependeth for use upon the hollow place for the axle. Clay is shapen to make vessels, but the contained space is what is useful. Matter is therefore of use only to mark the limits of the space, which is the thing of real value. Okay, I love it. Wow. This one was really good.
Yeah. All of these are really,
they're all good, but wow.
I think it's because it's probably there wasn't a lot of translation that needed to be done for this one because it's so straightforward, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's interesting that you like the Stan Rosenthal, and you're a Libra, which is the air sign, sun sign, and in favor, not that one's better than the other, but I've always liked the Stephen Mitchell version, and it's the one that we deem like the water, and I'm a Cancer sun sign. But I do appreciate all of them, really.
Is Cancer a water sign?
Oh yeah, it's a crab.
Oh, the Krabby Patty. Wow.
Got them crab claws going.
I forgot.
Right. So I think it would be good for this. We'll take the first two of each and then the second two of each. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want.
Actually, why don't you just do, well, never mind. That's fine. Two at a time.
Yeah, I think, because then we could kind of compare ones exactly. But yeah, so I think here really is they're trying to, or they're expressing what non-being or non-existence or whatever it is like the emptiness, like the zero, right? Like the value of a zero or nothing. And it also is dispelling some of the illusion, I think, that people see in the material realm, because everything's focused on the material. So you'd be focused on the pot itself, but they're saying, no, it's the emptiness inside that does the job that you want. Because if it was like a solid, if you had a bowl or a pot that was just
would
solid,
you eat from it?
Clay, yeah, it would just be a decoration at that point.
Yeah, I like that. Dwight Goddard says, although the wheel has 30 spokes, its utility lies in the emptiness of the hub. The jar is made by kneading clay, but its usefulness consists in its capacity. I think it's interesting how Stephen Mitchell I think he's the only one who doesn't count the spokes, while the other three guys mention the spokes. So Lao Tzu must have said 30 spokes, because maybe back then that was the amount in a wheel. I don't know if that's a thing. Is that a thing?
I was thinking the same thing. That's a good question. Or maybe 30 is just some kind of reference to 3 or the Trinity and all that stuff,
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
Because I know in BMX biking, it's 40. You want the 40 spoked rims on your BMX bike, or it used to be that way.
Okay.
I don't know what it is now, but yeah. there's my knowledge with spokes, everybody. And I know that tri-stars on a car are really cool back in the 90s, man. So
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
it's like it's like a rim with 3 spokes, basically.
I figured.
Like a big rim, yeah, for cars. All right, let me scroll down here. Yeah, it is really interesting how they all say 30. Though 30 spokes may form the wheel, it is the hole within the hub which gives the wheel utility. I like the use of word utility.
Yeah, I've seen it because usefulness, utility, that's a synonym.
Usability.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the clay the potter throws which gives the pot its usefulness, but the space within the shape from which the pot is made.
Mm-hmm. True. And Aleister Crowley, the value of the unexpressed. The 30 spokes join in their nave, that is one. Yet the wheel dependeth for use upon the hollow place for the axle. Clay is shapen to make vessels, but the contained space is what is useful. I like how he says, or he entitles it, the value of the unexpressed, because he's in saying that he's talking about what is not spoken.
And he's also making a reference to potentiality. Like what's potential and what is actually true and being. So that the emptiness is the potential, because you could put anything you want into that. And again, it's, we're not really worried about clays and jars and stuff like clay pots and jars and stuff like that, but it's more about the allegory or the symbolism contained, because it's the same thing, I think, for people, right? Like, it's not on the outside what's important, it's what's contained in the person. Better to judge.
Good
There's
call.
other ways to say that, obviously, but
And Dwight Goddard and Stan Rosenthal both use the word non-existence, and one of them calls it the value. Dwight Goddard calls it the value of non-existence, and Stan Rosenthal calls it the utility of non-existence. So
amazing. All right, I guess I'm in control. Oh, Joe's in there. What's up,
Joe's
Joe?
in the chat.
We got 11. Joe, you're the 11th. Look at that.
Nice.
All right. Do you want to we got to read the bottom. The
Yeah.
I like how they say hammer in this too, because it reminds me of Thor's hammer, right? We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. So I like this because they give 3 examples of what they're talking about, and then he just plainly just states what the verse is all about. So it's like the 3 things are just kind of qualifying, or they're like little parables, right?
Yeah.
To get your mind going, and then boom, they hit you with the truth. We work with being, but non-being is what we use.
I love that.
So it's just like we work with a hammer and wood to build a house, but the inside of the house is what we use.
Yeah, and the inside of the house is an empty space that you can put whatever you want in it.
The potential, right?
There you go.
Amazing.
Dwight Goddard says a room is made by cutting out windows and doors through the walls, but the space the walls contain measures the room's value. In the same way, matter is necessary to form, but the value of reality lies in its immateriality. Or thus, a material body is necessary to existence, but the value of a life is measured by its immaterial soul. I love this because it's talking about the material, right? Like we always talk about materialism, and he's talking about how, yeah, we have this physicality, we have this being, this body, but what's more important is the spirit or the soul or whatever you want to call it, that consciousness that lives inside, that has no, you can't touch that. You can touch this body, you can feel this body, but you can't touch that essence, that consciousness. So,
And it's really a good reminder, kind of going to back to what I was saying earlier about like not judging a book by its cover, because you don't know the unseen. So you don't know what's in a person's heart, and which also means you have no idea why they're doing what they're doing. You could, and we all do this. We falsely ascribe intentions to what people's actions are. So we'll be like, oh, they're cutting us off in traffic because they're a jerk. Well, maybe their kid's sick and they're trying to get to the hospital or something, you know? So it's that
yeah.
same unseen that we don't know. And that's the potential. And that really, what the way I try to use it in life is to not ascribe intentions to what people are doing. Or if I am going to, I'll try to ascribe them to something that might be justifiable, even though, you know, somebody shouldn't cut you off in traffic or whatever it is, be a jerk to you. I could still just say, oh, they're probably doing it because they're having a bad day, instead of having the whole victim not mind frame where I'm like, oh, they're doing it because it's, you know, why is everything bad happen to me? Oh, it's always happening to me and all that. And another funny story that I could kind of bring in here is, so Elizabeth and I went to the vets. We both have two cats. And I went about an hour before she did because she had to work. And that was the best day for the appointment. So I just went there about an hour. It's like 15 minutes away. And I got there. I was a few minutes late. Obviously, we all know me, but not real, like 3 minutes. But they took me right in. Everything was cool. I had that discussion about, you know, experimental medical serums, and they're really cool about it. I was on my way. And then Elizabeth went about an hour later, and she had to wait like 20-30 minutes because something was double booked. And, you know,
Hmm.
she had this like, and then on the way back, there was all this really bad traffic, which there was no traffic when I went. And I had just said to her, I'm like, why do you think we had such different experiences? Like, what do you think it was about it? Could this be trying to tell us something, you know? And I think when you look at stuff from that point of view, it really is just a more wholesome way to look at the way this realm works. Because oftentimes when things happen to us that we don't want to happen, we were like, why does this happen to us? And we fall into this victim state of mind where it could be a sign or something from the universe or the all or whatever, trying to tell us something. And that's kind of the conclusion that she came to. You know, she's like, maybe that's what it is. I just had some attachments to the way I thought I wanted it to be. And, you know, maybe I just had to learn something or whatever. And, you know, so it is cool that I'm able to have those discussions with her. It's actually really quite amazing. And of course, with the lovely Sharon and most of the people that watch this show. But I really think that's what it is, because like I just went into it thinking to myself, oh, it's going to be whatever, you know, it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. I'm going to get through it. People are going to love me. I'm a
It'll be
giant
fine.
with this hair and voice, you know, and smile. Like everybody loves me no matter what. And she was a little more nervous about going into, and she was kind of worried about different things, you know, nothing with the
Right.
cats or whatever, just, you know, I got to do this and
The
that.
energy about it.
Yeah. And I think that's really what it boiled down to. And she ended up kind of she kind of manifested the visit that she thought she was going to have, whereas I kind of manifested the one that I thought I was going to have. And again, if things didn't go my way, in that, you know, maybe something bad could have happened or whatever,
But there
I
was
could,
something that you could have learned from that.
yeah, I still could have had that state of mind where I'm like, all right, what's the universe trying to tell me right here? What's going on?
Exactly.
Because, you know, nothing lasts forever, everybody. We're all going to die, right? So we might as well enjoy our time here. And again, we're not telling you how to live. We're just telling you how to live a little more comfortably or easily inside, you know? It could always be a
Mhm.
struggle physically out there. You might have stuff you have to do. But again, it's your mind frame about that stuff. That's what I'm finding out anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, I'll finish this thought really quick. And that's the same thing really with my career with DJing weddings. I've noticed since I've been doing it for like, I don't know, since over 10 years now, even longer, the gigs now I used to go into it kind of worried about what this can happen or this can go wrong. And I have a whole new mind frame now, right? And it's more in line with the Tao, really. It's like, do your work, do your best, and then you got to let it go. And since I've been having that point of view, they have been much better, and I've been having a much better time. I mean, I could still, I'm sure something can go wrong and I can have a bad time, but it feels like I really am manifesting these just better times, I guess I could say, or like better experiences.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes,
All right, back
indeed.
to the Tao. Back to the Tao. Tao on the 21st of September.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're gonna go down now, right?
Yeah, Stan Rosenthal.
Good old Stan. Without a door, the room cannot be entered, and without windows, it is dark. Such is the utility of non-existence. And this is probably the simplest of all of the
Right.
translations, which normally it's
He's not.
the most verbose.
Right.
But I think it is so simple that he's just like, here you go. Like this one, you don't have to really bang your head against the door or the wall, right? To
Yeah.
try to figure it out. It's like, listen, without a door, room can't be entered, right? Okay. Without a window, it's
Oh.
dark, right? Yep. Such is the utility of non-existence. Anything to say about that?
Yeah. I mean, I had the same thought as you, that he didn't have to be verbose this time. And it's just, it's interesting how he translated this.
Yeah. It's a good lesson
Yeah.
for everybody, actually. Sometimes,
The empty space of where the door would go and the empty space of where the window goes. Basically, that is the utility. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have any way to get in the room. You wouldn't have a way to get light into the room. It's just that simple.
yeah, and it's more important. If not, it just is equal as the real. So the unseen you could say it's at least equal to as important as the seen. And I think he actually, even maybe without even knowing it subconsciously, because he left more room on in his description, right? And he's like, there you go. There's all the extra room.
Mm.
The space is what's important. So
He did it in this exact verse. That's hilarious.
yeah.
He
He's trying
left
to show you.
space.
Yeah, he left
Oh
space.
my gosh.
And again, he wasn't even doing it consciously, but that's really how
Yeah.
symbolism, people are listening to this and they're new to symbolism and stuff. It's like that. It kind of works like puns. It really does. It's like a pun, or that's really, I think, how allegory works. It's like you got to see the unseen, and he's showing you by showing you less things to see, less words.
Nice. All right. So Aleister Crowley says matter is therefore of use only to mark the limits of the space,
I love
which
that.
which is the thing of real value. I know. After I read that, I was like, holy smokes. Wow.
Holy cannoli.
Okay, so I'm just thinking out loud, but the body, the material, the physical body is therefore of use only to mark the limits of the space, which is the thing of real value, marking the limits of the individual consciousness that you came into this realm with for whatever reason you came this time. And that's the thing of value. Wow.
Yeah. And we could go ahead and say the body marks the end of the scene, and the unseen is either inside or outside of the body, I guess you could say. So the physical is just what it is. It's a meat suit vehicle.
Yeah.
Again, not that
Yeah.
we should definitely take care of it, and taking care of it, I think you do have a better experience in this realm, but also be aware of the unseen.
Did you hear or see? I can't remember where I posted this. I probably posted it somewhere, maybe in one of our chats. I think it was talking about the ocean, and then how or maybe it was an Instagram. Now I don't even remember. That's the funny part. But he said, like, the ocean is like the greater consciousness. And pardon me if I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember all the details, but
Alan Watts.
it really struck me. He said that if you take a cup and you take some of that water, the cup is like the meat suit you're in, the body. And then you take a little dye and you dye the inside, and that is your personality, that dye, because it's a greater part of the, it's a part of the greater consciousness, that water that's in the cup. Then you dye it a little bit and it becomes the individual, the you that makes you your personality and makes you individual and different and unique.
I
So
like that.
I liked that too. I can't remember where I saw it.
It makes me think of something Alan Watts said, but the other thought that jumped in my mind was the phrase kick the bucket. Like when somebody dies, they say that they kick the bucket. And if you think about it, like if you want to use that analogy of a cup scooped out of the ocean, when we die, that cup breaks and we fall back into the ocean and we become part of that consciousness again. So, I mean, we could use that euphemism, like, oh, his cup broke, like, he's back in the ocean when somebody passes.
Good point. Right.
The vessel, the clay pot, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And if we started out as a part of the ocean anyway, is it really that sad? It's kind of like if you're purifying water and you dump
Oh
it back.
my gosh. Right. Right. I love that. I love that because it gives a more like comforting explanation, I suppose, or understanding. And it's fine. Yeah, like we're gonna grieve people that pass. So, that's just what happens. But it's not anything to worry about or anything to fear. It's like we're just going to be dropped right back into that ocean. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it reminds me of, again, and I haven't made a Lord of the Rings reference in a while, so I shall. It's actually a Silmarillion reference where they talk about men and elves and the differences, and when elves they came first, and when they die they go across to the immortal shores and they have to wait for the end of time so they can be born again, but they sit in the hall and wait, and other elves are just immortal, so they'll live forever.
Is this in the Silmarillion?
Yeah, in the Silmarillion, unless they die of, unless they're killed, or I think it said something about sorrow can cause them to die, which is really crazy if they get too sorrow. But normally elves are immortal, and then men aren't immortal. They are, foretold to die, but it was a gift because they had no idea where they were going after they died. It was a gift that it was a mystery. So after death, they didn't have to go back and wait for the end of the world. They got to move on to somewhere else. And it was an actual gift. That's how they viewed it when men first came along. And then it got corrupted after a while.
And men wanted to live forever like elves.
Yep. They wanted to live forever because of the fear. So it's just the fear that got on there and corrupted it. And that's what let Sauron get a little toehold with the Sea Kings, but that's all. That's also in the appendices for Return of the King, where it talks about the lines of the kings and stuff. But that's basically what happened. They just, after a while, they started to fear death and they turned away and they went to materialism and they built all these huge things, and eventually, no spoiler alerts here, but eventually Sauron talked him into going attack the gods, and that did not go well for them. So yeah, it's crazy. But that's really what it is. I think it's just about a fear of death. It's like, one day your vessel's going to break and you're going to go back in. And I say, instead of going in crying or upset, or again, just jump into it like, here we go, what's next, let's do it. And I think you're going to end up in a much better situation if you do. But again, it's not, I don't think there's a certain way that you got to do it to die, or certain words you got to say or whatever. It's just a state of mind.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
all righty. Well, and then another thing I want to say, let me bring this back up too while we talk, because the Aleister Crowley version was, I didn't think I was quite done with that yet, but
Okay.
I love also how it's so short too. It's probably the shortest of all of these. I think, is the Aleister Crowley one. So, yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say. It'll come back to me. All right, let's go on to verse 12, shall we?
Yes.
The holy number 12.
12 zodiac signs, 12 disciples.
Yep. 12 months in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the Stephen Mitchell version of verse 12 that came out in 1988, colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desires wither the heart. The master observes the world, but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky.
Mm.
So much knowledge in there. Truth.
Dwight Goddard, 1919, entitles us Avoiding Desire. An excess of light blinds the human eye. An excess of noise ruins the ear. An excess of condiments deadens the taste. The effect of too much horse racing and hunting is bad. He's making a claim. Oh my God. I'm just
How
kidding.
dare you?
And the lure of hidden treasure tempts one to do evil. I remember this in a previous verse. Therefore, the wise man attends to the inner significance of things and does not concern himself with outward appearances. Therefore, he ignores matter and seeks the spirit.
Yeah, I like this. I think they'd have talked about desires before. I'm going to move on, though, and save my comments for the next
breakdown.
section. Yeah, so good, though. All right, Stan Rosenthal, what you got for us? 1984, the repression of desires. Okay. Through sight, the colors may be seen, but too much color blinds us. Oh, he's back to the wordy description. I like it. Apprehending the tones of sound, too much sound might make us deaf, and too much flavor deadens taste. He must have never had my cooking. No. When hunting for sport.
Or mine.
Yeah. We're not only are we great esotericists, but we can also cook real well too, everybody.
I try.
When hunting for sport and chasing for pleasure, the mind easily becomes perplexed. He who collects treasures for himself more easily becomes anxious. The wise person fulfills his needs rather than sensory temptations.
He goes back to the short, pithy statement. Is that the right word to use?
I think so. You're the grammar expert. What's pithy mean? I mean,
I forgot.
No, it's general.
I feel like I know what it means, but I forgot. I'll look it up.
You want to read the
yeah, I will. Okay. Just like looking at
while you look it up, I'll come back to us and go ahead.
Pithy is a brief, forceful, and it's brief, forceful, and meaningful in expression. It's an adjective. Full of vigor, substance, or meaning, terse and forcible. So I don't know if it's forcible, but it is brief and meaningful in expression.
It could be pithy.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that this the Wheel of Time series I'm reading, and they speak kind of like, well, there's different nations and accents and stuff, but a lot of the people will say, instead of saying that, they say what, so they'll be like I'll think of a better of course my mind went blank, everybody. This is what happens when you're on a podcast live and your mind goes blank. It's amazing, but
it happens.
I think it's I'm going to start speaking that way. It's a funnier way to kind of speak,
in what way? Speaking in what way?
Instead of saying what instead of that in certain examples, like
okay.
I'm trying to think of an example, but that's leaving my brain.
Yeah.
It'll come to me. Yeah. Stay tuned, everybody.
Blanking out. It's
same bad time. All right, so it's time.
Oh no, that was Stan Rosenthal. Sorry, I was mixing him up. He's not the one who does the long.
Yeah, no, it is right.
Where am I?
Here we go, Stan Rosenthal. There we go. Oh wait,
which one did we read? Oh shoot, I'm confused now. Did you read the Stan Rosenthal instead of the Stephen Mitchell? I'm
Yeah, I
getting
think
confused.
you read this. Oh, wait.
Wait,
No.
I'm lost. Where are we at?
Yeah, no, we're in the right spot. We are, because we read the first two and then I read this one. I read the I read the Stephen Mitchell earlier. Here it is, making people dizzy.
Oh my gosh.
Colors blind
Okay.
the eye, sounds deafen the ear.
Okay.
And you read Avoiding Desire? Yeah, okay. Sorry, we had a little brief reset. It's in the air, everybody. It's the
Yeah, I know.
21st of September, you know, we're
I'm getting confused now. What did we read? What didn't we read? Okay.
Do you remember on the 21st of September when we lost our
When
place in the
when we
Dow?
lost our minds.
Yeah, we lost our minds, exactly. Where is my mind?
I remember when
Yeah, I remember when
I lost my mind
I lost
on
my
this
mind.
on this episode. Okay. Aleister Crowley. He entitles this The Withdrawal from the External. The 5 colors film over sight. The 5 sounds make hearing dull. The 5 flavors conceal taste. Occupation with motion and action bedevil mind. He's not using the for mind. That's interesting. Even so, the esteem of rare things begetteth covetousness and disorder. We're back to the King James, guys. The wise man seeketh therefore to content the actual needs of the people, not to excite them by the sight of luxuries. He banneth these and concentrateth on those. Oh, Aleister Crowley. All right. We can go back to the beginning.
Ever the jokester, this guy.
Mm-hmm. Ever the little troll.
Yeah, ever the troll. Yeah, that's Aleister Crowley. He was like the first troll in history.
They
Maybe
see me trolling.
yeah, maybe also the other guy a bit too. Geez, my brain is just, it must be the 21st of September.
I know, the one that we quoted earlier.
Oh yeah, well definitely him, but he was after Crowley though, but I was thinking of it'll come to me. Anyway, so
Okay.
colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear. I like this because it's really straightforward and it's really kind of trying to give you an idea of what sense pleasure is all about. So, you know, when you see something beautiful and artwork, you just want to keep seeing it, whatever it is that you like to see. Whatever you like to hear, you just want to listen to it over and over again. Whatever you like to taste, you just want to taste it over and over again, right? And thoughts, for sure. Thoughts weaken the mind. I mean, that statement alone should be put on a t-shirt. Thoughts weaken the mind, everybody. And it's not that it's bad to ponder things and think about them and stuff, but the way that I kind of view that statement is like RAM, random access memory, in a computer. So that's the power, the memory that the computer uses while it's computing and doing different stuff, and you have different windows open.
It's like a quick access.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the same thing with your mind, because if you have all these other things going on in your mind, then it's going to be not as sharp when you need it. And that's the funny thing about like meditation and stuff, because people would say, well, isn't it bad for you to sit there without thinking about anything and you have a blank mind? Well, the good thing about it is, as things happen and come up, you could deal with them with all your computing power that you have, or most of it, or whatever, you know?
Yeah, because it's not being boggled by everything else that was running around.
Exactly. It's like a wood chipper. You're not like shoving a whole giant log into it, right, at once, because it's going to get bogged down. I mean, maybe you do. I haven't really operated a wood chipper before, but that's my analogy. Oh, and Nietzsche was the guy who was probably the original troll. Nietzsche.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he did speak a lot of truth, but in the ways he put it, right? All right, you want to read the Dwight Goddard first time?
Yes, I do. Okay. Avoiding desire. An excess of light blinds the human eye. An excess of noise ruins the ear. An excess of condiments deadens the taste. The effect of too much horse racing and hunting is bad. This is hilarious that he made this like example right here. And the lure of hidden treasure tempts one to do evil. I just, where did he get this effect of too much horse racing and hunting when the other guy says thoughts weaken the mind? This is hilarious.
Well, it's great. It's like he really put it into his time. 1919. It's like, let's go to a horse race. Like, let's go hunting, everybody. It's 1919. Like the humanity.
Because I was gonna say, like, how is he translating this? I guess he's giving people one example. Like all the other ones are not examples. They're just like statements of something. And this one is like an example. It has nothing to do with thoughts weakening the mind.
Yeah, no, I love it. But it tackles the desire thing really well, because I'm sure back then a lot of people can relate, and he's not saying that horse racing or hunting is bad, but he's like, the effect of too much is bad, right? Too much of anything makes you an addict. That's what the Nice and Smooth said in their rap song back in the 90s. Too much of anything makes you an addict. Nice. Yeah, but I like that.
Attachment.
And the lure of hidden treasure, which is pretty cool if you think about back in 1919, because they're probably talking about like Egypt and mummies and pharaohs and
gold
stuff, and hidden cities of gold that were probably in Arizona or in that area.
Gold in the Grand Canyon, perhaps.
Arizona.
Dare we say?
Yeah. How dare you? All right, go down to Stan. Stan in the place where you
Stan the man.
The repression of desires. Through sight, the colors may be seen, but too much color blinds us. So this reminds me a lot of the Stephen Mitchell version, except he's giving a lot more description of it. He's like, through sight, the colors may be seen, but too much color blinds us, instead of just saying too much color blinds us. Apprehending the tones of sound, too much sound might make us deaf. Too much flavor deadens taste.
He didn't do that one with that one.
Yep, but he did. Now he talks about hunting too.
Holy smokes! Now why? And that's crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder, did the original use that example? And they're just they're doing the literal translation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be quite possible, because everybody had to hunt. And I like how he makes a distinction here. When hunting for sport and chasing for pleasure, the mind easily becomes perplexed. So if you think of hunting, there's obviously two different types. You're going to either hunt to survive, to eat and food, or you're just hunting for the sake of killing something that you can use as a trophy or something.
Yeah. Or like selling, like poaching.
Oh yeah, like tusks. Like when you kill an elephant just for its tusks or whatever. Yeah. Your mind becomes easily perplexed, because if you're hunting to survive, then it's just a basic need that you're fulfilling, right? Or if you're chasing something because it's necessary, not for pleasure, but you're chasing it because you need it to live, it's totally different. You kind of are in a flow state at that point, right? He who collects treasures for himself more easily becomes anxious.
Because he has to protect them, doesn't he? Because he thinks, oh, if I think this is a treasure, then someone else might think it's a treasure. And now I have to protect it because they might take it from me.
And if you think about all the excess worry and anxiety and thinking that goes into obtaining these treasures, then you're also going to feel that loss, because you're going to be like, oh, I went through all this and now I lost it. I don't have it. It's not mine anymore. Somebody else took it. Oh, yeah. Interesting. All right, let's go back. I just wanted the people to see our smiling faces. Oh,
yeah, Aleister Crowley. Unless there was more.
No, go ahead.
Aleister Crowley, the withdrawal from the external. I'm just going to compare this to the other ones, which are the repression of desires. And then Dwight Goddard calls it avoiding desire. It's funny. Dwight Goddard and Stan Rosenthal use the word desire in there. And Aleister Crowley talks about withdrawal from the external. All right. The 5 colors film over sight. The 5 sounds make hearing dull. The 5 flavors conceal taste. Occupation with motion and action bedevil mind. Even so, the esteem of rare things begetteth covetousness and disorder. Now, I did mention that we saw this in a previous verse, the covetousness, right? I don't know if you remember that, the esteem of rare things.
Yep.
That seems familiar to me. But yeah, he says 5 colors, 5 sounds, 5 flavors. It's interesting.
5, 5, 5. There you go with the pentagram, right? The pentagram, which it represents this spiritual realm that we're in. So it probably is divided up on some level into 5s, which is really cool.
Yeah, I do wonder what the 5 sounds are. I mean, you could find 5 colors, right? Because I mean, there's allegedly 7 from the Roy G. Biv, right?
Yep.
But yeah, the 5 sounds, that's kind of interesting. I don't know what that one is.
But I do like how he says, make hearing dull. I was going to say heareth dulling. Make hearing dull, which is so true, because if there's other sounds going on, like if we had a song playing in the background really loud while we're trying to talk here,
that would be very, very distracting and annoying.
Unless it was a good song, I guess. But no, yeah,
I mean, it's like a light, low volume, maybe, but it still can be distracting depending on what you're.
Maybe 5 sounds also can represent a band. Like you have a singer is one sound, you have a guitar, rhythm, a bass guitar, drums, and maybe like a keyboard or something,
Okay.
That's one way to just look at it. I mean, I'm sure there's other, but it's like
yeah, I wonder what the original said, if it referred to these, or if he just took it upon his esoteric mind to make this little, poetry here with the 5 things.
Yeah, I bet he did. He probably took some kind of esoteric knowledge and overlaid it onto these already older ancient words.
Yeah, because no one else seems to do that with the, someone else may have, done that whole 5 thing, and he didn't. I mean, and they didn't. So I'm assuming he's probably using some sort of esoteric knowledge or overlay.
How dare he? All right, let's go back to top. The master observes the world, but trusts his inner vision. And now I'm reading from Stephen Mitchell, the bottom half of verse 12. But trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky. So I like this verse because seems in all the verses probably going to be like the same thing, but the first part kind of tells you the problem, and then the second part gives you the solution or other people's solution. Like, so he says the master, right? So he's saying somebody who has mastered this, they're a master, and this is what they do. They observe the world, but trust their inner vision. It goes back to, reminds me of verse 11 with the container and with the space and all that, right? So he observes the scene, but trusts the unseen kind of thing. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky, which what is more open than the sky, right? Except for the dome on top, but allegedly.
If there's a dome.
Or whatever's there, or the end of our consciousness.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I like thinking of it as the end of the sky up there being the end of our consciousness, because it's less limiting. It's not like we're in a cage. It's just, this is all we can perceive, right? Anywho.
Good call. Yeah, and then allowing things to come and go. It's like just being, again, as we talked about in a previous episode, just be. Okay. Dwight Goddard, second half, says, Therefore, the wise man attends to the inner significance of things. That's similar to what Brandon was just saying with Stephen Mitchell. And does not concern himself with outward appearances. Oh, I like that. Outward. Yeah, so the whole concept of like judging a book by its cover is right there, I think. Therefore, he ignores matter and seeks the spirit. There you go. And what's interesting about that is it's funny because Stephen Mitchell says his heart is open as the sky, but Dwight Goddard doesn't address anything like that. He just says, therefore, he ignores matter and seeks the spirit.
Yep,
I
a
like
little
that.
more watery with the heart being included there in the Stephen Mitchell version.
Yeah, exactly. The
All
cup, the emotions.
And look at Stan, 2 lines.
I'm telling you, sometimes he like surprises me. And more than Aleister Crowley. See, there's another example.
Yeah, exactly. The wise person fulfills his needs rather than sensory temptations. So Stan gives you this whole wordy explanation of how desires can get in your way, and trip you up. And then at the end, he just says, listen, the wise person fulfills his needs rather than sensory temptations. And another point I'd like to make about all this is they're not telling you how you should do it, right? They're just saying, listen, the master, the wise person, the one who gets it, this is what he did. If you want to do it, do it. If not, hey, whatever. We're not making judgments here. This
Yeah.
is the Tao. We're just making statements. Right. Or I'm sorry, we're just asking questions, right? Basically.
And making some statements sometimes.
Yeah. Not claims, just stating some facts.
Yeah. And Aleister Crowley in the second half says, and he's a little bit more lengthy than Stan Rosenthal, says, the wise man seeketh therefore to content the actual needs of the people, not to excite them by the sight of luxuries. I'm just going to go with like non-King James version here. He bans these and concentrates on those. So let's see. The wise man seeketh therefore to content the actual needs of the people, not to excite the people by the sight of the luxuries. So he bans the luxuries and concentrates on the needs. Is that what I'm reading? Okay.
Yeah. He concentrates on contenting the actual needs of people.
Okay.
Yeah. I like that because it's like you're not, again, it goes back to the judging the book by its cover, right? So a great example, Donald Trunk or whatever, right? He's this flamboyant guy and he's like trying to show you all these great things he's going to do and all that. And he's trying to overwhelm you, or whatever leader it is. You could just pick your world leader and add that in, right? But what is he really doing? Is he really contenting the needs of his people, or is he just kind of like being flashy?
Trump Tower.
Yeah, exactly. Trump Tower.
I think I saw something somewhere that Trump Tower is like, it's like gold or something, and it reflects, it's almost like a mirror or something. What did I see about that? I can't remember now. It was very interesting. Just like how it like reflects and stuff had something to do with that. But
It's a mirror.
yeah, it's a mirror
For your soul.
It's a big giant mirror. Let's see. Yes, the wise man. Okay, yeah, not to excitement the sight of the luxuries. Yeah. So what I think is funny about this is how he's actually has to say a little bit more than Stan Rosenthal. Yeah, now I there was something I was going to say, but now I can't remember. So that's okay.
Yeah, and I think again, Stan, maybe even subconsciously, he's leaving all this other space because I think he's trying to tell you that it's actually simple. You give this really big explanation in the front, so it's probably one of the longest of all the 4. His first part is the longest, but then his second part is the shortest. So he's giving an accurate description of what these desires are and how they can mess up your senses. Because if you think about it, they all really are just sense pleasures that they're talking about here. And that's what so many people have issues with. You know, I had a lot of issues. I'm sure I still have some issues with it, but you are trying to seek that feeling that you've had, right? So like eating, for example, sometimes the flavors or eating certain things make you feel comfortable. So you're seeking this comfort in food because you want to kind of distract yourself from everything else that's going on or whatever. So you can seek it in food or
drown it in drinking,
drinking or, you know, whatever it is, horse racing, right?
Smoking,
gambling,
something,
whatever it is. Yeah, smoking. Exactly. Here, let me light up. So just to show everybody I am perfect, but you know what I mean. Oh, it's out. Damn it. But yeah, so I think that's exactly what they're talking about, right? It's this familiar feeling that we get when we pleasure our senses. And I don't see anywhere where it's saying that it's bad to pleasure your senses, but the overness of overdoing it of it, right?
The attachment to it, which is which gives you that overdoing. Right.
100%. You know, it's like poker. You know, you could go play poker and have a good time and maybe win some money or whatever, or you could just be totally obsessed with it and just not even have a good time. Like I've even other like gambling, right? Some people might want to go out and play some blackjack. I don't recommend it. I'll recommend poker if you want to get a good man's thinking game and maybe do a little gambling, but blackjack there, it's just, you know, the odds are in their favor and they're gonna win in the long run. So, but if you're gonna do it and you make that decision that, hey, this is just what I like to do for my fun, you can go have fun and go out with your friends, do it. But there's certain people that become a different person. Yeah, they become like a different person at the blackjack table. And
well, it's like people that become a different person when they've been drinking.
100%. It's like an excuse for this shadow person that they're not expressing to come out without any consequence, because they're like, well, it's because I was drunk that happened, or it's because I was at the blackjack table down.
It's because that guy made me angry
or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm down 5,000. I could do whatever I want. You know, my behaviors are justified because of this extenuating circumstance that I put myself in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really does remind me of the nature of the way we are. And I don't think it's inherently human nature to be this way. I just think it's because of the materialism. Like we've talked about so much on the show, people get locked into this material state of mind. And when they do that, they're making that pentagram, right? They're making the upside down 5-pointed star with their behavior because they're acting like the 4 elements are over spirit, right? Maybe I should pull up an example. I know we've done it before, but we have some time to kill, so why not, right?
Sure.
Let's see, pentagram. Let's see what comes up. Oh, perfect images. Now, you know, maybe if I put in pentagram and the different what are they called again? What did I just call them?
Pentagram.
The 4 elements. There we go. And elements. Elements. Booyah. Let's see what we have here. This one might work. Oh yeah, this is gonna be great. I don't know if I can get any bigger though. We might have to do some advertising. No, here we go. Save image. There we go. There we go. All right. So yeah, that's really what it comes down to in my estimation, is just like, what are you making more important? You know, is it the spirit of all this stuff, or is it the 4 elements, the actual matter, which is all false, right? So here you go. Okay, boom. You got spirit on top, water, air, earth, and fire. So in the correct view of this pentagram, all the 4 elements support spirit. And when you have it set this way, your behavior is supporting this. You realize that spirit or the unseen is the most important thing, right? So you're not focused on material or the matter, you're focused on spirit, and you let the things that happen in the physical, not again, because we don't want to say like we're too new agey, but you don't let it affect you to the point where you think you're a victim. I guess I could just say it that way, right?
Mhm.
And when you turn this thing upside down, which I could probably, yeah, look at that. Boom, look at me.
There you
There you
go.
go. Now you have the evil 5-pointed upside down pentagram. But really, as if you could see, it's just somebody living where they think matter is more important than spirit. And it's not a judgment, it's just it comes out in their behavior. And I feel like our society is just like that pentagram. And as an individual, you could change around in your own life, and then you just view everything around you in a whole different way, and people might still be in hell right next to you, right? Hell on earth, but you're not, you're in heaven or whatever, you're in that. And it kind of goes back to
You're on cloud 9.
yeah, it goes back to that little story about the veterinarian's office, where I was kind of, from my point of view, I was like, all right, it's what's going to happen is going to happen.
Gonna
What's
go
meant to be is meant to
smoothly.
be. We're just going to have a
Yeah.
good time. Like, we're just going to take it as it comes. Whereas Elizabeth might have been a little more worried about things, and then it kind of manifested in a different way. But I think it is, again, it's like a lesson, you know, it's like, listen,
Yeah.
if you're going to have this worry, then it's going to manifest for you. This is what's going to happen. You're going to get stuck in traffic and all this stuff. But I'm just super excited that she acknowledged that, and she even said it, because I was just thinking, I'm like, well, you know, let's ponder this.
Yeah.
I didn't have to like provide any answers or whatever, because I think really, again, it's that whole thing about the different paths to the mountaintop, and everybody has their own path up.
Mhm.
So,
Well, what you were talking about reminds me of right before I came back from Jersey, there were, it wasn't September yet, and they were saying, oh, by XYZ date of September, they're going to start, covering their smiling faces again, and XYZ. And I just thought to myself, when I fly, it's going to be fine. Like, it's going to be fine. Like, nothing's going to be, going on. It's going to be okay. And if something does happen, well, I'll just make other plans. Fine. I'll just stay here longer, whatever. I'll figure something out. Like, if Source wants me to stay here, then it'll make it happen. If Source wants me to go back home for whatever reason, then I'll go back home. It's whatever. It's not a big deal. And dude, very, very few people were even covering their smiling faces. Like, most everybody was just showing their face. So I was just glad about that.
Joe said he said the same thing, Sharon, because he just flew recently from the US,
Oh,
Germany.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, whatever's meant to happen, So
Yeah,
I'm just
100%.
so glad about it.
That's the thing, right? So if they were making people covering their smiling faces, and they were being like, you know, Nazis about it or whatever, then maybe you were supposed to stay in New Jersey longer. Maybe this, maybe that, you know. I think that's a better way to look at it, because again, it's so simple too. But when you think to yourself, oh man, they're making people covering their smile, they're making people cover their faces again. What am I going to do? You're trying to make this all about you. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
you're trying to make it about you individually. And again, I think that's important on the inside, but in the exterior world, if you realize that we're all just part of this collective consciousness, we're all part of the sea, right? All these waves are just flying around, and you can either go with it or go against it. In that
A-
matter of speak.
Another thing that just it reminds me of too is um as I can't even remember which direction it was. I think it was on the way back that we were delayed. And, every time I'm going to fly, I'm just like, everything's going to be perfect. Everything's just going to go smoothly and go well and go perfectly. And this time it was, yeah, I think it was on the way back. It was delayed. And I was actually like taking it in stride, whereas sometimes in the past I may have been annoyed and like, oh, like when is this gonna, you know, and it just seemed like I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read my book, I'm gonna do whatever, I'm just gonna use the time to do whatever I want to do, and it's just gonna be fine, I'm gonna get there, it's no big deal. And yeah, we were delayed by like 2 hours. And when I was telling people I had, my sister had to pick me up. So she was going to be delayed by 2 hours to pick me up, which I'm glad she was able to. Otherwise I would have figured something out, but I just mean like she wasn't upset about that. She was more upset, not upset, but she was more like thinking I should be upset because I'm delayed, like that's a long time to be waiting for the plane and waiting in the airport. And I was just like, it's fine. I just read my book, and chatted with some, neighbors who were flying too, and made the best of it.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to planes, I could say I've been through so many delays myself too, and missed flights and all this, but it's better to be delayed. It's better to land later sometimes than it is to land early, because you can land early in a mountain, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh
or
God.
in a field of whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think just being grateful. That's the funny part about people getting so upset about air travel and being late and stuff like that, which I get. It's a huge inconvenience, and I totally understand. But in the grand picture of things, you still flew in the sky in this tube that brought you
Yes.
here nice and safe. It's like,
Right.
so I
Despite
like,
the turbulence.
yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I
Yeah.
think that's a cool way to look at it. It's like we talked about recently in the oversharing group and stuff, which I apologize everybody for not being so astute, but I will promise I will be more there a little better now. Just sometimes need a break, but it's about this forgiveness and having gratitude, right? You could look at whatever you want. You could take your whole traveling from New Jersey to Arizona, and you could frame it in any way you want in your mind. And one of them is, man, I can't believe it took so long. I got stuck here, stuck there. Or the other one is, oh, I'm just so glad I'm back in my home safe
Yeah.
with
I
all my
was.
10 fingers and 10 toes. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
was very grateful. Yeah. Um, Speaking of that attitude, right? And I don't know much about this right now, but I stumbled across this. I've posted a video of it about it a little bit in our chat. But it's called Ho'oponopono. I don't know if you've heard of it.
mm-hmm.
And it's a Hawaiian practice of like forgiveness for self and for others. And I believe there are 4 things that you say, and I don't know very much, to be honest. This is the basics, is all I know, but I want to learn more about it. But it just made me think of it because of what you were saying. So I think it is, you start by, like, let's say that there's someone that you were aggravated by, or someone in the past or even in the present who you just kind of want to reconcile everything and let go of feelings that you don't need, no longer serve you. You say, I'm sorry. Like in your mind, you say it to that person or whatever, or even to a past version of yourself. You say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Or I love you. Thank you. I don't know if that matters, the, the, the order, but basically you say those things, and I don't know how it's done. I haven't, like I said, that's the basics. That's all I know. But even just knowing that, I have just been kind of pondering on that and thinking on that and kind of using it as a framework for how I, kind of like how you say when someone's in front of you in the car and they cut you off or whatever, how can you approach it differently, right? And change your view of that situation so that you're not suffering, because why do you want to be suffering for nothing? So I've used it, and it's helped me a little bit change my view about situations and about maybe people that I'm just like, I don't know how to deal with this right now, so what do I do? Okay, maybe I'll try this Ho'oponopono thing. basics, because again, I need to delve more deeply into it.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, oh, there goes my words. It's a word salad. It's about retraining your mind, I guess you could say, because like I've said so many times, in this society, we are trained and conditioned in certain ways. And after we grow up into adults, it's not always other people, the conditioning and keep us in that frame of mind. It's ourselves. It's the other part of ourselves that does it, because we're running like on this program. So you're basically just downloading a new program. It's like the best way to look at it. And the way it gets better is to just keep doing it over and over again until it becomes second nature. And then when something happens, you could say those things to yourself inside, instead of automatically going like, oh, why me? You could be like, oh, like it's funny because when Elizabeth and I go shopping, every once in a while there'll be like somebody that just seems to be following us around for whatever reason or not.
That's funny.
And we're just like, what the hell? And Elizabeth be like, oh, this guy, whatever. Or this lady or whatever. And one time I said to her, I'm like, well, maybe there's something about our energy that draws this person toward us, and maybe they just need to be in our sphere for a
Your
little bit.
golden energy.
Yeah, or maybe hear one of my funny puns and lighten their day a little bit, or whatever it is. But looking at it that way is just a small little thing you could do, right? It's the same kind of thing. It's just really how you look at what happens to you, because you really don't have any control over what happens to you in the external. As we always say, it's really just how you deal with it when it does come up, when these things come up. It's how you do it internally, and that will mirror to the external. This is basically what they've been talking about in the Tao and these other two verses with the non-being and the desires and all that stuff. It's really the unseen versus the seen. And the unseen, a lot of that is what goes on inside your own head, or however this works.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I just want to notice that there are 13 people in the live.
Ooh, what's going on? Let's check in with the chat. What's going on, everybody? Paraplegic is, guys, if you want coffee, call Paraplegic Bear. Just give him a call like it's the 80s and be like, listen, I need some, and he'll mail it to you just like it's the 80s. You don't have to worry if the internet goes down. If, as long as you have Paraplegic's number, you can always get coffee.
And he's returning to Arizona in a couple of months.
Oh, Arizona. Nice. Hilarious. Wow. No, let's see. What do you say? When I fly, I eat lollipops constantly, then they can't make me wear it. If they ask me to wear a mask, I will then take my temperature with a thermometer, telling them I'm scared I may get a fever from COVID. No mask either way. Eat lollipops. They can't stop you. I got removed from not covering my smiling face. My 300-pound fat ass lifted off the plane. I'm going back to Arizona. That's hilarious. Can you imagine? Like, I don't know. It's probably good publicity. You should just get like a Paraplegic coffee shirt with your phone number on it. And then as you get removed from the plane, if somebody records it and puts it on the internet, maybe it'll go viral, and you could sell a bunch of coffee too.
That's funny.
Well, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Joe all the way from Germany. Spoons. These are like Joe and Spoons and people like this. They're the unseen heroes. The unseen part of the Oversharon show. Oh, yes. They're the spiritual part. Sharon and I are the physical incarnation of it, but some other people are part of the bottom, right?
Woodshop the wise.
Yeah. Quiet Sparky Bear. What's going on? Too much fun and not enough work makes you weak and gay. It's the other way around too, though. Too much work and not enough fun probably does the same thing. It's all about a balance, right?
It's a balance.
There's a good chapter in the book by Henry C. Clausen, 33, Your Amazing Mystic Powers. It's on YouTube on the channel Masonic Books. Clausen was the leader of the Scottish Rite when he was alive. Oh. Yeah, a lot of this information, and I mean, we talked about all this before, but with religions and secret societies and esoteric stuff, a lot of it has the same message. It's just a different path up that mountain, right? And I think what happens is some people get attached to that path and they like to just like hang out on the side of the mountain instead of going up it. And they want to make sure everyone else is going up that same path and doing it correctly. which is okay,
Should I read
Yeah, please do.
from the changing lines? I'll just show everybody the changing lines. So it says line 1 at the bottom. So this line is like I would just call it a broken line. When embarking on an ambitious undertaking during turbulent times, the wise take great care, especially in the beginning. Proper planning and the laying of a good foundation are too often neglected in the excitement of the moment. Such carelessness is bound to cause problems later. Attending to careful preparation now will leave you in a much better position in the future. We were talking about preparation earlier, weren't we?
We were.
Line number 2 says, unusual partnerships are favored like an old tree putting forth new shoots into the earth, or an older man marrying a younger woman.
Ooh.
Despite the uniqueness of the situation, all goes well. This is a time of renewed vitality and rejuvenation, a time of advancement. Line number 3. Oh, I forgot to mention line 2 is just one straight line, as is line number 3. Plunging willfully ahead during risky times against the advice of your friends and intimates invites trouble and is likely to make things far worse. Action is not advised, but neither is obstinacy. Line number 4 is also a straight line. It says, or an unbroken line. Friendly relations with different people can become critical, bringing good fortune in times of crisis. But if you depend upon the support of others, you must keep their interests at heart as well as your own. Otherwise, misfortune results. Line number 5, which is also a unbroken line, says, the person who aspires only to relationships with those of higher status, greater wealth, or more power creates an unstable situation. The tree that sinks its roots deepest into the earth is the one that is able to stretch its limbs highest into the sky. Balance. What did we say?
So true.
And the line at the top, which is a broken line, says, brave determination can lead one into deep water. Though it is careless to forge ahead while ignoring threats, sticking to your principles can seem more important than mere survival. There is no shame in this as long as you remain aware that plunging ahead on your own is risky and perhaps quite dangerous. Nobody can blame such courage.
Awesome.
That is the I Ching reading of card
Great
number
knowledge. That
28.
it actually, the first part you read reminds me about the beginnings. It reminds me of the beginning of the Dune book, where I looked it up. It says, a beginning is the time for taking the most delicate care of the I'm going to start again. A beginning is the time for taking the most delicate care that the balances are correct. This every sister of the Bene Gesserit knows. Yes, the balances, right? The beginning. But we are not at the beginning of this show, everybody. We are closer to the end.
Yes.
So what's up, Mr. Nargis? You made it just at the end, but enough to make it into the episode. So thanks for coming. Guys, check out morelawsmoreproblems.com. That's my website that I've had now for 10 years. And click on the Oversharing tab, and you can get all of your oversharing needs. You could donate money, which we've got a couple of donations in the past week. Thank you guys so much. But that's not the best way to support us. The best, well, I mean, it's great for us, but the best way that anybody could support us without having to make any monetary commitments is to just like this video, share it, subscribe, and just be a part of the chat. Make yourself add to the content that we do by coming here and hanging out and chatting, because everyone always has a good time. It's always very uplifting, and that can never hurt, especially these days when we are full in the middle of psyop season. It's always good to meet with a bunch of Mike-minded people. Oh boy. I said something backward. I should have wrote it down. I said something backwards yesterday, but it was really funny because the way it came out, I can't quite remember. But yeah, no, this is really, I think, what it's all about is all this, like-mindedness. And so you realize that you're not totally crazy when everyone else thinks you're crazy, right? You guys know the answers. Let's check in on the chat one more time before we get out of here. We need paraplegic on ham radio in case the phone goes down. Because I was saying before, when I was saying if the internet goes down, yeah, we'll get them on one of those ham radios, like a CB, but it, like, you could go all the way around the realm with the thing. It's really crazy.
Oh,
Because they say
hmm.
it bounces off of clouds, but we all know it's probably because the realm isn't what they tell us, allegedly. But anyway, yeah, thanks you guys so much for hanging out in the chat. It really is awesome. It makes my day every week when we're here. Every Thursday, check us out. We've been doing them earlier, so we'll be here. And yeah, I don't know, what else can we say? I guess if you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them below. We'll probably talk about it on an episode, which we have definitely done before in the past when people brought up different questions that they've had. So let us know. This is our little breakdown of the Tao, and we hope you enjoyed it, because the Tao has, helped me so much on my journey, and it's kind of one of the tools that I've used. So hopefully you guys can use it too, but you don't have to. You could say F the Tao, and I'd be like, whatever. What are you going to do?
And
And
we have spoken to James of Family Fungi, who told us about, he told us on one of the episodes that we did with him about the Zhuangzi or Zhuangzi, something like, I forgot how it's pronounced. But that one is also kind of loosely based on the similar principles of the Tao. And so it talks about the Tao and the day as well, but it does so in a different way. And I started diving into it actually this morning. I started to read the intro to that book, and this morning I got in a little bit into that first chapter. So I don't know, maybe one day we'll dive into that one too.
yeah, I tell you, it starting to make me hungry, all this talk of like these Chinese words, because let's face it, most time when we see Chinese words, we're at the restaurant and we're like, yeah, I'll take the dim sum or whatever. So there's my
You ready
racism
for
for the day.
Chinese food?
There's my racism for the day, I guess. Just kidding, everybody. We all know that that's another fallacy. But anywho, yeah, exactly. Maybe I will eat some. Actually, no, I'm going to be cooking today because we went shopping yesterday, so I'm excited. We just haven't decided what yet, but I will be cooking today, everybody. So think of me and my amazing meal. And yeah, I think we covered everything. So what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
That once you start oversharing,
Then you totally stop being a Karen. And remember, we're not trying to tell you what to do.
we're
Or no,
just
we're not
trying.
trying to tell you how to live.
That's right, how to live, but how to live maybe a little more simply.
That's right. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Ciao.
Have a good one. And we're done.